Welcome back, everyone. Jake here. In this video, I have something absolutely insane to tell you about the Russian military. But first, Vladimir Putin has ordered an operational pause to his invasion of Ukraine this week in order to help his depleted forces build up strength. To me, this is kind of a bizarre move to blunt your operational momentum after Russia captured the cities of Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. Russia is trying to frame this as a job well done, congratulations, take a breather, you heroes of Russia. But I'm sure that the Ukrainians don't mind having extra time in order to regroup and refortify the cities of Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. In my opinion, this is where the real battle for the Donbas region is going to occur. When we saw how hard the Ukrainian forces, with no resupplies, fought for the town of Mariupol, and how hard they fought for the city of Severodonetsk when it was on the wrong side of the river, I don't see Ukrainian forces ever giving up these two towns. And to me, this just shows that Russia is running out of gas. This city of Severodonetsk is less than 100 miles from the Russian border, and it took Russia 4 months to finally capture it. So what the Ukrainian military is accomplishing when they're outmanned and outgunned, it's pretty incredible. But we do have to ask the question, what kind of casualties are the Russians taking? According to Ukraine's defense ministry, they estimate that they've killed over 36,000 soldiers fighting for the Russian forces. But I'm convinced that a majority of this number is potentially separatist fighters from the Donbas region. So Russia has mobilized and mass conscripted basically every adult male in the Donbas region, and they're giving them Russian uniforms and rifles from the 1800s and pushing them to the front lines just to be cannon fodder. If you're not familiar with this term, the term cannon fodder, it means that soldiers are being used as expendable material in war. So Russia is not trying to conserve the loss of life of these separatist fighters or maybe even their own soldiers. This is how Russia has fought wars for hundreds of years. They don't really care about casualties or how many troops they lose in fighting a battle. But in order to take this city of Severodonetsk, I just have to wonder how many soldiers did they lose and how many more are they going to lose pushing west to these heavily fortified cities of Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. And we are getting indications that Russia is becoming desperate for recruits to resupply their forces fighting in Ukraine. Here's an article that states, Russian occupiers now recruiting volunteers among the Ukrainian population to fight against Ukraine. So as Russia takes territory that belongs to Ukraine, perhaps there's a couple thousand civilians still left alive in Severodonetsk. Maybe there's some men in their 50s or 60s. That's good enough for the Russian military. Put a uniform on them, give them a rifle from the 1800s, push them to the front lines to be used as cannon fodder. Additionally, Russia is also now aggressively pushing for more Republican units from the North Caucasus to join the Russian forces fighting in Ukraine. And if you're not familiar with the North Caucasus, you've probably heard of Chechnya, but there are other regions where these are ethnically diverse, mostly Muslim people, and I'm sure that Russia would be happy to depopulate this region. So they're offering contracts and a lot of rubles in order for men to form units to go fight in Ukraine. And Russia is doing this once again because they're getting short on manpower. They're losing a lot of soldiers. Here's another article saying in Transnistria, they are calling on people to serve in the Russian army under contract. This is according to Ukrainian intelligence. If you're not familiar with Transnistria, it's this sliver border region between Ukraine and Moldova that Russian forces have basically been occupying for the last 30 years. And Russia is now actively recruiting men out of Transnistria. This is not a very populated region. It's only about 469,000 people. There has to be some Transnistrian men in their 50s and 60s. That's good enough for the Russian military. Put them in a uniform, give them a rifle from the 1800s, send them to the front lines to be used as cannon fodder. But here is the absolute bonkers, insane story that you just can't be surprised by Russia anymore. Russian prisoners are being offered their freedom if they join the fight against Ukraine. So Russian prisoners in St. Petersburg are being offered freedom and money if they join Vladimir Putin's war against Ukraine. This is according to a local independent news outlet. The name of it is somewhere here in this article. But what's being reported is that relatives of prisoners who were spoken to serving sentences in this jail, they told this outlet important stories that the notorious Russian mercenary group, the Wagner Group, is offering to pay 200,000 rubles, this is 3,446 US dollars, and be given amnesty for their sentence that put them in jail for a 6 months voluntary service in the Donbass region if the prisoners manage to stay alive and return after 6 months. They're also being told that if they die serving in combat, that their next of kin will be given 5 million rubles, or about $85,873. Wow. And this is for defense of the motherland. And it's not really defense of the motherland if you're sending them to someone else's country. The prisoners were first told that only those who had previously served or fought in battle would be considered, but a few hours later, everyone was told that they would be considered, and some 40 people from the prison actually signed up with the Wagner Group. All this is only in words. It will not be recorded anywhere on paper. At the time of the information, it's not transmitted directly. So who is the Wagner Group? And the Wagner Group is a Kremlin-funded private military group to do extra military activities around the world. But Russia is using them heavily in Ukraine right now. And Vladimir Putin has been heavily gaslighting the world by claiming that he needs to denazify Ukraine when the Wagner Group has neo-Nazi ties. I'll link a couple articles down below. I've not dedicated a video to this, but there are known neo-Nazis who are members of the Wagner Group fighting for the Kremlin, fighting for Vladimir Putin in Ukraine. So really, it's Ukraine defending the world against neo-Nazis at the moment. I personally think for these prisoners, I want to be sympathetic and believe that maybe there are wrongfully imprisoned people in this St. Petersburg jail. Maybe this is their ticket out if they've been wrongfully prosecuted. Maybe all they have to do is volunteer, get to the front lines, toss down their weapons, run to the Ukrainian side and surrender. Maybe they can live the rest of their life in Ukraine. But more than likely, the Wagner Group is just going to make sure that they die, and they're never going to get paid. They're never coming back alive. The next of kin or family members are never getting these 5 million rubles. But the fact that Russia is going to these lengths to find bodies to supplement their forces in Ukraine, it just shows how much they're struggling. Here's an article also recently that the Russian Duma approved a bill raising the age limit for military personnel to 65. So if you're watching this and you're a Russian man or a foreigner who's 64 years old, this is your time to find glory in combat. If you're 64, 65 years old, you can be shipped off to boot camp to join the battle, join the fight in Ukraine. So when you guys see these comments from Russian trolls, Russian bots in the comments section saying that everything is going according to plan, you know, that 40-mile convoy on its way to Kyiv in March was a feint, the real objective all along was taking the Donbass region, it's obvious that this limited special military operation, it's not a war, isn't going according to plan. It's going disastrously in every measurable metric for Russia. So every time you see people in the comment section just regurgitating this Russian BS propaganda, don't doubt yourself. You are not crazy. They are gaslighting you. Let's wrap up this video, and I want to share the Ukrainian national anthem played by the guitar by this fine gentleman right here. He also looks like maybe he's in his 50s and 60s, but he has volunteered to fight for the Ukrainian Defensive Forces, and he's defending his country, defending his home. I'll just go ahead and share his song with you.
Так, не чуть ни хрена. Так це офігенно чуть. Я дрантя, що, блин, вообще капець.
Glory to the heroes, glory to Ukraine. If you couldn't hear the music, then that means it was copyrighted, and I unfortunately couldn't let you listen to it. But if you want to follow this account on TikTok, I don't know who this Ukrainian defender is who recorded this song of this older gentleman, but his TikTok account is Mia_8times if you want to look him up and leave him a comment and check out some of his other videos of daily life for a Ukrainian defender. That's all for this update video. If you guys found it informative, give me a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any comments or questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, take care, be safe.